the Overman Warrior Podcast.
But you all do your part. I promise you, we're going to do ours to make sure that the rest of the country is following Ohio's lead. We led the first industrial revolution, but that will be small compared to what's coming ahead for Ohio on my watch as your next governor. Let's get this done. Let's win this year. Let's do it for Ohio, and let's do it for America. Thank you. God bless you.
Hi, it's Rich Hoffman here. I don't normally talk about the other people that I talk to, but I think this is this requires some context, and it was an interesting week. It started off at the State of the State speech with Governor DeWine and several people who are in the legislature that had a chance to talk to, who were very alarmed by Congressman Warren Davidson's voting against President Trump with the War Powers Act, with the actions in Iran. And he was one of a couple Republicans, Thomas Massie being another one, who voted in favor of the Democrats against the Trump administration. And so there was a lot of concern about that. I had a chance to talk to Warren Davidson personally on that topic for at least 10 minutes or so. And I understand where he's at. I get his position. I like Warren Davidson a whole lot. And I think in this situation, his point is well made. And anybody but Trump in the White House, I think everybody would agree with Warren Davidson. You don't want a president that you can't trust out there with endless amounts of executive powers, conducting wars and going nuts. You want some decisive action, but then when it drags out to a larger conflict, which is kind of where the Iran case is, it's not something resolved in 24 hours. It requires more support. And the idea here is that Congress is the only one who can authorize war. A president doesn't have the kingly abilities to go out there and make war on other nations. You could take decisive action, defense of the nation, but you can't just perpetually conquer the world like a Napoleon. But most everybody likes to see how Trump handles his powers, his executive branch, and most are in agreement. And Warren Davidson is one who is certainly aligned with Trump administration on just about everything. And if you hadn't seen, around the same period, there was a wonderful hearing where Warren Davidson got into it pretty heavy with Maxine Waters over defending ICE. She wanted to label them as a terrorist organization, and he came to the defense of ICE as it's being used by the Trump administration as an organization there to maintain security of our nation. And he was quite illuminated about the whole thing. So one thing about Warren Davidson, he's very adherent to the Constitution. His Warrior's Heart speech that he gave when he said he was going to vote in favor of the Democrats, essentially, and go against the Trump administration, it was well known, and he's done that a couple times. He's certainly done that on debt issues. And as a representative for the Butler County region in Ohio, his congressional district very much leans in favor of Trump. But we also like to see our representatives adhering tightly to the Constitution. So Trump himself, behind closed doors, I'm sure would say he likes to see honest checks on power. As an executive, his job as it is a job of any executive in any position of authority in any company or any endeavor, is to try and build consensus to an idea. And sometimes you use friendships, you use browbeating, intimidation, the power of positive thinking, whatever means necessary to bring people over to your side. And the assumption I heard up in Columbus with some people who are definitely in the sandbox that have to deal with these things every day, and sometimes it can be a tightrope to go with what you think your constituents want as a representative, and to follow the pressures of peer groups, whether they're on the Democrat side or the Republican side. I think most of us want to see everybody who's a Republican, because the majorities are so thin, to support the Trump administration, because we put him in that executive branch to do great things like remove threats like Venezuela, cartels in Mexico, Iran, China's leverage on destroying the dollar, a lot of elements that are going on there that we definitely support. So I had a chance to talk to him about it, and listening to him talk, he's every bit the Trump supporter still, but he will stand by his principles, and I think that's what everybody wants as a representative. And at the time that he took the vote, it was pretty well lined up that it was going to pass on and go into the Senate, and that his vote wasn't going to be consequential to its destruction, to the destruction of the Trump initiatives. But he wanted to get on record that he wants to see this administration and future administrations adhere to constitutional ideology. Got to stay within the bounds of the Constitution. And when the lights are off and Trump's talking one-on-one, I have no doubt that he would agree with Warren Davidson completely. But everybody's at cross purposes here, which is kind of what you want in government. You need good debate. And speaking of good debate, I also had a chance to talk to Vivek Ramaswamy, and at the same kind of time frame as Warren Davidson personally, for a substantial amount of time. And the topic there, just for everybody to know, because I think all these things are considered in the same realm. Again, it's a connection to the State House, State of the State speech, a conversation I had with Governor DeWine and other people who, what happens now that DeWine is winding down from now till the end of his term at the end of this year, because it's obviously going to be Vivek Ramaswamy for the Republicans, and on the Democrat side, it's going to be Amy Acton. And I think Vivek Ramaswamy is poised to absolutely destroy the lockdown lady, Amy Acton, who was an appointee of Governor DeWine. So when I had a chance to talk a little bit with DeWine about that, because it was like, okay, this is your last State of the State speech. It came up in friendly conversation. It wasn't like media inquiry or anything. It was just a couple of people talking. And, what happens now? And he was kind of sad because he's been in politics most of his life, and this is a final bit of the chapter. I'm sure he's going to find some way to kind of hang around and be meaningful in something. But really, all of Columbus, Republicans for sure, were waiting for Vivek Ramaswamy to become the new governor. And that's what Vivek and I talked about, because he's been coming under fire for a lot of things, because you're front runner, you're going to receive fire. And I've been able to be a part of Vivek's process from going from a CEO of companies to kind of being an author and then kind of emerging into politics. I've been able to be at the front of all his changes, and and so we were talking in the context of that. And his question was, well, what's the mood in Columbus based on State of the State speech? What's the governor? What's on his mind? And my report to him was, well, essentially everybody's just waiting for the governor to get out of the way and for you to come into the governor's mansion and start doing some great things. There's a lot of people in the legislature that have great ideas that they just need somebody to support them. A governor that will be a very conservative governor, which Vivek Ramaswamy has promised to be, at this little gathering we were at. There wasn't that many people. I mean, it was an intimate gathering. It wasn't something for the broad audience. So it was a time to talk about things on a personal level, and there was nothing that was, secretive or something that you couldn't talk about in front of anybody. But it's good when you have those smaller venues to have one-on-one conversations and find out where people really are, because the media is not equipped to deal with it. They just don't understand the nuts and bolts of how to ask the right questions. They only get the surface level answers. So when you have complicated issues like what Vivek Ramaswamy's been going through with scrutiny challengers, pre-primary kind of rhetoric, a radical Democrat on the other side that came from the DeWine administration, but is a wild Democrat, big time abortion supporter. The lockdown lady was terrible on COVID policy, locked the state down, destroyed the economy, still recovering. A lot of complicated issues there, but then you get a chance to talk one-on-one in ways that doesn't have any pretension of media guarding the flow of that information. People want to hear it. So I often find myself in a position to have those deeper level conversations, and just for the general people out there that are wondering what is on the mind of Warren Davidson, how could he go against Trump? I think Warren Davidson's been great on many things Trump related, and he's very supportive of the Trump administration, but he also wants to make sure he's on record, because there'll be a couple of years from now where Trump won't be in office. Hopefully it's someone like J.D. Vance who takes over and continues what Trump started, and that goes on for another 8 years. But you want to make sure that 10 years from now or 15 years from now or 20 years from now that you have not just rubber stamps going on to these war powers acts, even though the Iranian situation may need a very strong CEO type to make very strong decisions, executive decisions that the nation can rally behind in order to deal with tyrants who are functioning the same way, but with a Marxist ideology hidden behind radical religions as a front to push their ideology of Marxism and left-wing controls through a hostile region to dominate economic interests that the world has. Warren Davidson wants to be on record to make sure that the people think of the Constitution always first and foremost. So context, need to have more discussions. That's the healthy realm of debate in any kind of government endeavor. And I love Warren Davidson. I think he's, even every time I get a chance to talk to him, his wife Lisa, very, very sweet, nice people. They are he's in it for the right reasons. And it's great to have somebody like him representing our district. And he knows how to walk the fine line between pressure and doing what's right. And it comes from knowing where a warrior's heart is. So his warrior's heart speech isn't just political rhetoric. He means it. And when you talk to him one-on-one, you really get a chance. If everybody had a chance to talk to him one-on-one, they'd find that out. But he's the real deal. He's just a good guy, and really, really like Warren Davidson. And even though a lot of people were angry with him for going against Trump, and that was certainly the sentiment up in the State House in Columbus, a lot of people were disappointed that he wasn't on the pro-Republican bandwagon for that moment. He's definitely a hard, very strong conservative Republican, and he'll defend the Constitution with a warrior's heart, even if it goes against the executive tendencies of a very strong president like Trump. Doesn't make him anti-Trump like Massey, but it certainly makes him someone willing to have the open debate and to force the issue, which he did. And then when it comes to Vivek Ramaswamy, again, all these themes centralize out of the State House, and the conversations I had, and I'm just talking about them all in the same place, because similar conversations happen within moments of each other. What I told Vivek Ramaswamy, and I'll say to everybody else, I fully support Vivek Ramaswamy. He's definitely the right guy. He's got the right intention for this whole thing. And as I told him, he could do anything. He's a very rich person at the moment, a very young person. He could retire now and live the rest of his life on a beach in some remote island, never to be heard from again, and be perfectly happy. He wants to take his success and apply it to leading the state of Ohio in a beneficial way. And he's rising to the call. And he's poised here ahead of the primaries to do great things, and to say to him what I said to him regarding my conversations with DeWine and others at the State House. Everybody's sort of waiting for DeWine to get out of the way. DeWine meant well. DeWine isn't a bad guy. I think he leans way too much as a Democrat than a Republican. And I'm not with him on most anything, and most Republicans feel that way. And he was good on the Second Amendment. He's been good on a few other things. Been good to not get in the way of incoming business. Business First Caucus in Ohio. We've managed to get some pretty decent looks from substantial investments. Andrew being one of them, and certainly Joby being the other, and several others as well. And Governor DeWine deserves credit for at least having a stable state that could accommodate those investments. But a lot of Republicans have been waiting for DeWine just to get out of the way, and they can't wait for Vivek Ramaswamy to be governor. Not that Vivek Ramaswamy is going to do anything all that terrible or crazy or become a Republican tyrant that Democrats can't support. I think Democrats will find they will benefit greatly from Vivek Ramaswamy's policies. And him being of Indian descent, I think, gives him a great platform to bring a lot of people into the Republican Party that otherwise wouldn't. And I think he's great for the Republican Party. And DeWine endorsed him, and we talked a little bit about that, and I think that's great. And people are coming together in a way they need to, and that's it's going to be a good period of time when Vivek Ramaswamy is the governor of Ohio, and Warren Davidson finishes out his term, aligns with the Trump administration. Trump administration gets a few more years to do some great things, and Warren Davidson will be right there with him on most everything. But you do have to have good, healthy debates, and it's important in the media. It'd be nice if they had the wherewithal to cover these things, but they just don't. That's why I do what I do. And we talked about that a little bit too. Vivek asked me about that, and I said, I'm just filling in gaps where I see that the media just can't, and it takes somebody to be able to tell the story of what's going on with the Republican Party and politics in general. And I just so happen to have a knack for that kind of thing. And I explain, I want everybody to be connected and feel like they know what their representative government's doing for them. But I don't like to play the gotchas. I like, and if I have some personal gripe with somebody, I certainly express it, articulate it. But I really wanted to talk to Warren Davidson personally because so many people are down on him. People who would normally be very up on him. And I think it takes a lot of guts to do something that people are going to be mad at you over. But he certainly redeems himself. Not that he owes anybody anything to redeem them. People vote for representatives to express their opinions. And if you don't like their opinions, you vote them out the next time. So I think it means a lot that Warren Davidson feels he's doing what his constituents put him in office to do, which is represent the Constitution, take an oath to it, even if the peer pressure from members of your own party are trying to twist your arm to vote their way, even if it goes against what your constituents want. It's a tight balance. And unfortunately, the media doesn't do a good job at any level of expressing that. Even on radio, you get your 15 minutes to kind of talk about it, and then you get a commercial and you're on the next subject. You seldom ever get to flesh these things out right, which is what I commit myself to doing, is fleshing out the nuances of the details behind what people say and do and why. And in this case, I think Warren Davidson is doing a great job. I highly support him. I love to be able to talk to him, which I did, and he just reminded me of all the reasons why I like him so much. And when you take away all the political theater, he's just a good person, just a really good person, a sincerely good person. And the same with Vivek Ramaswamy. Strip away all the media buzz, the lights, the camera, the action, the brand building, the big platform, being a governor, and you just talk to him one-on-one as a person, which I get to do every now and then. You find that he's a sincere person that wants to do a good thing. When you have what's power, the governor's mansion in the power position of it, is something that normally people aspire to. For Vivek Ramaswamy, and I don't want to say it in a mean way, but it's a step down for him. It's a step off the ivory tower of the life he lives, and to kind of live within being beholden to people who elect you, and to sit in the legislature and pound out ideas and make things happen. And it's a lot harder than being a CEO where everybody has to listen to what you say as an executive. It's a much harder deal to go make deals with people who don't agree with you and to corral them all into something that represents the needs of people in Ohio in general. So it's a tricky balance, but it's one that it takes a genuinely good heart. And Warren Davidson certainly has it, and Vivek Ramaswamy certainly has it, and so do a lot of the people that were at some of these events that I've been to, and some of the personal conversations I've had at the State House, and then at some of these special venues. When you get to look somebody in the eye and see what they're really about, you find out that they're really good people that really want to do well, and I can honestly report that. And as to people who are curious, people who might not otherwise know, or people who read the headlines and see Warren Davidson win against Trump, or Vivek Ramaswamy has challengers, and people question whether he can be governor because he has he has descent from India. No, none of those things. It's really what we want here are people who sincerely want to do a good job and are positioned intellectually to do it. And those guys certainly are. And I feel very happy to have had personal conversations in the heat of the moment, when a lot of speculation out there about moment-to-moment needs, such as how long is the Iran war going to go on, how's the primary in Ohio going to go, between Vivek Ramaswamy and Amy Acton, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not even close. It's going to be Vivek Ramaswamy. Republicans can't wait till he gets in the governor's house, and Warren Davidson is going to be there with Trump, issue for issue all the way through, and he's certainly not going to do anything to derail the Trump agenda, because that's what we put Trump in office to do. But we also put Warren Davidson there to make sure that things don't get off the rails, and his vote on this issue, the War Powers Act, certainly is one of those items. Wants to remind everybody there's a Constitution, and we can't have unlimited checks on executive power. And as a member of Congress who's supposed to be in charge, Congress has to declare war and manage all the finances. He's making sure that people know that Congress has that right to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that debate. I think it's very healthy and good. And it was good to get context by talking to those guys directly. And we're a much better world because we have those guys in these offices looking for an office to represent us in good and productive ways. And I told both of them that to their faces, and it wasn't any kind of phony discussion. It was sincere and just people talking to each other. And I'm really glad they're willing to go do this stuff, because it's not easy. But they're definitely the right people to do it, and I'm very happy that they are doing it. Proud of them. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.
Thank you for listening.